Let me tell you something. Dreams expire as you get older, you know. That's what an ex-employer said to me weeks before I decided to resign and become a full-time character designer. Let me show you what happened next. Oh, and timestamps below if you want to dance around for points of interest. Okay, bye. Back in the early 90s, I was really interested in spiritual teaching. Things like Reiki, law of attraction, that kind of thing. I was so heavily involved in all aspects of spirituality that I read many books on attraction and how to manifest things that I wanted in my life. I believed then, as I do now, that the power of the mind is a wonderful thing. The only issue was, nothing was working for me. I had lost many jobs, ended relationships, and just seemed to be around toxic people. Can you relate to that? I mean, I thought something was wrong with me. Here I am studying everything on ancient teachings, meditation to metaphysics, and yet nothing seemed to bring me closer to that feeling of me doing something that was beneficial. I wanted to absorb everything I could on spirituality and the law of the universe. So I joined spiritual circles, I had tarot readings done, I joined healing practices and talked to gurus on the subject. And yet here I was having broken relationships and one bad thing seemed to happen after the next. I invested so much time in going to spiritual conventions and having tarot readings done that I thought, I must be getting closer to the answer by now. But closer to what? My story seemed to be incomplete. But like any good book or movie, there must be a beginning, middle, and end. So why was there no end to me feeling this way? I felt like, why is there so much pain to find this much peace? Should I do the honors? Yes, please. Okay, this is Monkey Takeover. Monkey. Okay. Get on with it. Today I'm drawing a character that defends our story from outside negativity. During my 30s and 40s, I entertained many negative energies that didn't serve for my personal growth. But all that changed when I stopped looking for the answers and started asking the right questions. Let's draw out our protector who can guard our creative comeback. Shall we? Remember how I was telling you about my spiritual quest for knowing more about the laws of attraction and such? Well, I became a sponge for that knowledge and how to tap into the power within. I read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, and bought all the tapes, yes, tapes on Tony Robbins about unleashing the power within, and just became obsessed with all things motivational. I knew something radical was about to happen to me, but I wasn't sure what. And I knew that time was of the essence to get this knowledge quick because I wanted to apply it, but I didn't know why. Then one day my curiosity got the better of me and I found out about a spiritual teacher in Hammersmith in London. She came highly respected and I said to myself, if she doesn't tell me the answers I'm seeking after this session, then it's over. I won't know where else to search. I remember that it was a cold winter day in September and I went to her house. I was a little nervous because I didn't know what to expect. At best, I thought she would give me the answers I was looking for, and at worst, it would have been just yet another person telling me about positive thinking. I remember arriving at her place, which was in a basement. I went down the stairs and knocked on the door. There was no answer. I tried again, and then I heard a very soft, velvety voice behind the door say, "Hello? Who is it?" I said, it's me, Rico. I'm here for my appointment." And then the door opened, but I didn't see anybody. I heard her say, "Come through," and I had to make my way down a dimly lit hallway. And I arrived in what was the back of a room, but no one was there. I stood there for a minute and saw a table and some spiritual artifacts, and I could smell candles and incense burning. And then I said out loud, "Hello?" To my left was what seemed to be a kitchen, but there was no door, just a curtain of beads that swayed gently. I could see a shadowy figure of someone moving around in the kitchen as she said, sit down. I'm just making some herbal tea. Do you want one?" I said, "Yes, please." After 5 minutes or so, I could hear the curtain of beads move gently behind me, and out came this very lovely English lady with a long flowing purple dress and beautiful long grey hair. I know, it sounds like something from a movie, right? But this actually happened. Anyway, she placed a tray on the table and introduced herself. Then she asked me to tell me a bit about myself and my spiritual journey. I noticed that she had amethyst rings on her fingers and wore a beautiful ornate necklace. There were all kinds of crystals of all shapes and sizes displayed in the room. She asked me some questions about my knowledge of spirituality, and then she closed her eyes and started telling me things that I didn't expect to hear. She said, "You are powerful, Rico, and you'll become even more powerful, but first you need protection. And when you are ready, you'll become unstoppable." I know, it sounds like Neo in the Matrix or something, right? Was this the Oracle I was meeting? That's when it starts to all make sense. It wasn't that my story needed direction, it also needed protection. I realized that the best questions start when we decide who or what is going to defend our story against outside influences. Just like our character here, you need to know that at the center of your being is your right to find and defend your purpose. Isn't that right, Monkey? Sure is. My session with this wonderful mystic and experience was ending, and she turned to me and said, "You will start being great when you stop hesitating and overthinking your connection to what you want, but perhaps you're not ready." Our session lasted about 2 hours or so, but she didn't suggest that I see her again. But as I was leaving, she simply turned to me, offered me a crystal and said, "When you are ready, you will find what you're looking for, but you don't have to look external of yourself because you already have the answers that you seek." I know, it sounds like a movie. I've seen movies like this. You want to know something? That spiritual session was when I was in my 30s. And since then, I've been through cycles of toxic people and even more traumatic events, like losing the sight in my left eye. It wasn't until my 40s and then into my 50s that I truly understood what that magical spiritual session was all about. It was the sound advice from my own internal whispering, not the sound from my own negative narratives, and certainly not the sound from outside negative influences. But the voice that said, stop being so noisy about wanting answers. As in, stop telling people what you're going to do, stop announcing your intentions, but listen to the sound of your own internal power. The sound of energy, negative energy that I placed upon myself was just fear in disguise. Know this about authentic power. You can never have power taken away from you. You can only give it away. Sure, negative energy sound loud, even louder than your dreams sometimes. But the sound of greatness comes from an unforgettable melody that plays from your heartbeat to your eardrum and reverberates in the recordings of your soul. Okay, I think our character is done. The story guardian. He's old, weathered, but unshakable. A bit like you and I. His weapon is his pencil, standing between your dreams and the voices that say, "You're too old, you've missed your chance." If you look closer, he's standing in the golden time of day, the dawn of a new beginning, with all you have to look forward to, ready to draw a new path of brilliance. This episode is in a long series of being fearless over 40, so consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the very next video, like this one. And remember this, let failure be your teacher as your haters try to reach you. And though they doubted your success, they'll be amazed what you do next. If you want to find your story guardian, then let's take this inspiration into a conversation so you can have more time to align with a life you design. The link is in the description below. But before you go, can I suggest you watch this video next? It's about imposter syndrome, so you can continue being fearless over 40. See you next time.